Yo, 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 what is up? Canyon, how you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good. It is NBA trade deadline week. I feel like we've had some juicy moves. I know last year was pretty crazy. How many juicy moves you got? Kyrie Mavs level moves. Do you think one of those is happening the next day or two?
Yeah, I think one more could happen. Um, I think the Raptors might make a move here.
Hmm.
The KD net stuff, I don't know about that. That seems a little much to me.
Yeah.
Um,
If the
I,
if the Nets were like completely out of like playoff contention and like awful record, I think it would be so
yeah,
much more likely. But it feels so weird, right? Doesn't it feel so weird, like a team blowing it up? I know like the circumstances are kind of odd around Kyrie, but no, it just the whole situation feels kind of weird. Because usually there's like I feel like there's like a okay, it makes sense, like they're blowing up the team, but it's kind of like I mean I don't think they want KD to go, but it's kind of up to KD at this point.
yeah. It seems just like low hanging fruit for the media to be like, okay, Kyrie's gone. Okay, let's assume that KD wants to move. Like,
Yeah.
I I get it, but like you can make a narrative for it, but it's definitely low hanging fruit. They just want to push it out there. I don't think it actually happens. The stuff like
Right.
with the Raptors, with like Van Vliet, Siakam, OG, Gary, like that kind of stuff. It's like, yeah, like okay, I could see that happening. With the teams that they were saying are involved. So, I think if there is a kind of big-ish move, it's going to be from the Raptors. I don't think there's any other
Mm-hmm.
worthy candidates that are looking to move.
Yeah. No, I
That would be
that
the
would be
one.
my big guess. I mean, I still think, and we've seen it all the time, right? Where there's just like all these trade rumors we've heard about people or players. Just one of them happens, right at trade deadline time. Like that kind of stuff happens like year over year. And last year was a big one. But yo, what's up, Sammy?
Yeah.
How's it going? How's it going? I guess we're already talking about it, so let's get into it. I know we had. Check out the video if you guys have not had a video on our immediate reaction from a fantasy perspective for the Kyrie Irving to the Mavs trade. Canyon, I see the Luca sweatshirt on. Canyon
Of
is the
course.
resident Mavs slash Pistons
Of
fan
course.
of the fantasy basketball flock. How do you feel about this move? Give me your overall feelings, and then talk like overall fantasy.
I mean, it's very exciting. Obviously, this is the greatest player that he's played with. Luka's been able to play with. Kyrie's super talented. Like, say what you will about him, he's a
Yeah.
baller. He's a
Dude, can I
bucket,
just
right?
can I time out? Like, say
Yeah.
what you will about Kyrie. I cannot, dude. Kyrie bashers are unbearable. Okay, like you can talk about the stuff that's gone
From a
on.
standpoint.
Yeah, but to bring up like him ruining teams and not even mention in the same vein of like how incredible of a basketball player he is. Like it's just
Yeah, I wanted to help you clarify so that we didn't get towards the assumption of you're talking about off court stuff that has happened in the
yes.
past. Like that's not
True.
what we're talking about.
True. I just
That
I
stuff
think
is
he's
yeah.
deserved the respect of like in the same vein of talking about because I see people talking about like oh he's a depreciating asset and he's old and a cuckoo head crazy boy. It's like dude's also a bucket with like the best handles in the NBA.
Mhm. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it fits Luca. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people are like, there's only one ball, but it's like you can say that about any team ever assembled, right? Anybody that
Mm-hmm.
ever plays with LeBron, but like Luca's so great
Right.
because he gets others involved as much as he can score himself. Like as good as Luca is, and as much as he wants the ball, I don't think Luca's like, hey, I want to go score 50 points a night and lose in the last like 3 minutes. Like he doesn't want that either.
Yeah.
So I'm sure Luca's like, I'll just happily drop 20 to 30, get my teammates involved, and have someone with me that can also get a bucket and help me win. So from a chemistry standpoint, I'm not worried about it. The one ball argument, I'm not worried about it. From a viewership standpoint, it's going to be incredible to watch Luca and Kyrie together. In all actuality, I don't know the plus minus of wins that this is going to do to them. They're not they're not super deep in general,
Yeah.
or I don't love their depth. So it's like having them two is great, but
I
still
know.
the supporting cast needs a little bit of work. I still don't think I mean I think they're obviously going to be a playoff team. Like I mean even last year, right? They were Western Conference Finals, so I think they have that potential again to go to the Western Conference Finals. But it's just like and it's 7 game series, you never know. But we'll see. It's an argument from silence almost at this point because
Yeah.
just haven't seen him with someone so high usage and so talented. So I'm
Yeah.
just
And
excited to just watch him with someone else that's good. If they're not good right away, I don't care. Like there's a move here that we finally can get Lucas some help.
right. And I do want to say like I think some people are going to be like, oh, the Brunson disrespect. I mean, Brunson was great, especially like, I mean, in that playoff
Yeah,
run too. Like he deserved to get paid for
yeah,
sure. But I think the one exciting thing is, say what you will about like fit and how it's going to work out. Like at the very least, he's going to be able. Kyrie's going to do what Brunson did in the playoffs for the Mavs last season, right? Have these games where he's just
yes,
like he is just
yes,
dudes getting buckets alongside Luca.
yes.
So I mean that'll be
It's like
exciting.
what Brunson does and what made him so good, Kyrie can just do better. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Like Kyrie can
for
shoot the
sure.
three. Mid range, maybe you can make an argument that Brunson's mid range is a little bit better, but I don't think so. I mean, Kyrie's
Yeah.
just he's got a deeper bag, so it's like
Hmm.
it's gonna be really fun. On the flip side, yeah, I mean the Nets now have a kind of a plethora, like opposite of the Mavs, a plethora of riches and depth at the guard spot and more. The KD stuff, yeah, we'll see, I guess, like I
Hmm.
said, but Dinwiddie's good. He'll help them get some wins. Cam Thomas is obviously going off, but I don't think that's sustainable.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
we should. I think I'm gonna pull it up right here. I think we have to at least talk about it. I mean, it's felt like a flash in the
yeah,
pan this last game, right? I mean, had a
yeah,
couple strong games even before then, right? Like 20 plus
yep,
20
yep,
20 plus point games, but
yeah,
47 4-3.
yep,
I mean, obviously, just shot chucking, right? 15 for 29, 10
yeah,
for 11 for the free throw line, but it's hard to call it shot chucking when you're shooting above 50%, 7 for 11 from three. I mean, he's good. Like,
yeah.
he's good.
It's funny. I mean, I'll give credit to Josh Lloyd. Kind of tweeted this first, or one of the first people who's saying how much Cam Thomas is to sell high right now, right?
Yeah.
And I would agree, but I kind of responded and said, yeah, he's a sell high in fantasy and in the NBA because I don't think this is sustainable in fantasy. I don't think it's sustainable in the NBA. I don't think he's a good NBA like team player. Like his whole entire package, his entire game is just the ball stops with him and he's going to get a bucket.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to be like a walking 30, 35 to make it help a team.
And
And
just look
yeah,
at
he's
who the
top
Nets have
offers.
right now, right? I mean, we didn't even have
Yeah,
No Curry tonight. Obviously, no KD. Obviously,
yeah.
Kyrie's gone. No Ben Simmons, and like, I mean, they're just missing a ton of guys. So if Cam Thomas shot 29 times tonight, like he was gonna have a good game. He's not
Right.
gonna be able to do that. You know, when we get
Yeah.
some of these guys back, he's gonna be. I think he's like earned himself a spot in the consistent rotation. I know that was kind
Yep.
of a weird question mark earlier, but yeah, I mean, obviously sell high. I don't know
Yeah.
if anyone's falling for this, but honestly, when you say falling for, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people look at him and are
Mm,
like, KD's going to be out for a little bit.
right. There's a window now to
No
sell
Kyrie.
high
Yeah.
without it being like there's like you were kind of hinted at. There's a sell high where it's like your league mates are gonna be like, yeah, dude, I know what you're doing. At the same time, it's like, okay, like yeah, he just had two good games. I'm not buying him at the price that he's gonna drop 30 to 40 every night. But like you said, Katie's out, Kyrie's gone, Dinwiddie's in, but it's like
Hmm.
Dinwiddie's not gonna seem like Cam Thomas should get a spike in like there's a lot to convince yourself that Cam Thomas is a good buy here.
Yeah. I mean,
But
yeah,
yeah,
if you
so
just pull up, like, I mean, if people start looking at, obviously, like, his return to being a heavy part of a rotation, once he's playing 23 plus minutes in this Lakers game, the past four, he's had 21, 19, 44, and 47. And I think the thing with, like, sell highs is, like, yes, nobody just falls for them, but
right.
I'm sure you guys got game log watchers who pull up and see, hey, this is 4 games of him, being solid. And it's
Yeah.
true, and he is. And I'm not saying he's going to like disappear, but he's not going to shoot 30 times a game once the Nets get
No.
healthy.
No. Should I drop Devin Vassell for Cam Thomas? No, I wouldn't.
You can't.
If that's
Do you
your
know?
worst player,
Do you have an IL
I don't know how long
stash?
he's out.
It's
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't
it's
know how
post
long
All
he's out
Star
for.
break is the last report I saw. So
Okay.
my thing with that is like, if you really can't stash, like the
I mean,
flexibility of being able to like play different players, but
yeah,
it
if
sucks.
Devin Vassell is your worst player to drop, I think you'll be okay. You can. It seems like you can afford to miss out on Cam Thomas having a game like this because he's just not going to do this every night. I don't buy it 1 second. Um, it's funny.
I know the
I'm on
thing is
Twitter right.
though, it might be like the next like 2 or 3 games where he does not do this, but is like, okay, he's dropping 20.
Shoots.
Yeah.
Yeah, shoots 25 times, which is fair. I mean, yeah. So like as a waiver wire ad, sure, pick him up and play him when you can, but I wouldn't drop Devin. So I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
IL stashes would be ideal. Vassell long term is going to be a really good player. I was on Twitter here. For some like while he said that, the tweet that's staring me in the face is Devin Vassell tweeting, "I just want to hoop, man."
Oh, I hate that.
Poor guy.
That's so sad too. That was a Chet tweet too, right? Right after that
Yeah,
injury when
yeah,
the season started. Oh,
yeah.
it's so sad. Oh, it cracks me up. I don't know if you saw that one tweet. I quote tweeted it where some Rockets fan was talking about how they had three. It was like the Green, Jabari. They've got three players in the Rising Stars, and it was like compared to like the Pistons who have two,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
the OKC who have two, and it's like okay, like forgetting literally the second overall pick and Cade Cunningham, the first from the previous year. It's
Yeah.
all good. We find a way to trash talk the Rockets and talk about the Pistons every stream, so we'll get into it here. But yeah, I think from that perspective, we kind of talked about it. I mean, you know, if we're about to talk about Sumner in the same vein of Cam Thomas, like they're missing a ton of guys. They're just not healthy,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
obviously didn't coming in. I mean, the thing is like, yes, it's
Never.
Dinwiddie. Yes, it's Dinwiddie coming in, but it's KD returning. And if KD's moved, like if we do see a crazy KD trade, it's hard to believe it doesn't come with some young piece or somebody like a Dinwiddie or something. Like it might just be capital, but um,
Or Durant, you're saying?
yeah, if Durant's moved to like
Yeah,
whatever the
yeah.
Celtics, I'm gonna throw up in my mouth, but just
I mean, yeah, they would definitely receive like a solid player in
right,
picks,
yeah,
like because cap wise too, they'd have to figure that out.
right,
But
100%, yeah. So yeah, so this is, I mean, this is a flash in the pan. I think he's like probably is worth playing for sure until it disappears. But you just got to know that it's gonna, when it falls off a cliff, it's gonna fall.
yeah,
When the guy gets returning. But still, I mean, it's worth having this little segment where we talk about him for a minute because he's been solid.
definitely.
Over on the Clips side here, just your classic like Paul George, Kawhi, amazing game. Um, yeah, I don't know if
Yeah.
there's much to talk about this other than, I mean, I feel like the guys we would talk about, like solid games from like Powell,
Yep.
um, Zoo,
No,
like these guys are like rostered or should have been picked up
yeah, it
recently.
was kind of like a snooze game for the Clippers. I feel like they had everybody healthy. I don't think they
Mm-hmm.
pushed themselves too hard. Everybody played solid minutes, but it's like I don't. This game was never in danger of being the Nets really. Like even with Cam Thomas popping, like Cam Thomas had to
Yeah,
do that to make it even close. So like very standard Clippers game. Nothing to over or underreact about here.
yeah.
Like yeah,
We can go to
I
we'll go to Celtics Pistons here. Celtics
yep.
win 111-99. This is just like the stat line you expect from Tatum against a Pistons team when
No
Jalen
Jalen
Brown,
Brown
yeah, Jalen Brown's not playing. So now,
struggled really bad in the first
oh
half too.
yeah, he was like 0 for, what was he, like 0 for 5 or something to start from three.
From three. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
really bad start. Got to the line and had a really strong second half as
Yeah.
well. And it's the Pistons.
Yep. I mean, the Pistons played pretty good defense to start that game. The
Yeah,
first half, like they were scrappy. I saw a couple stints where Jaden Ivey was on Tatum, who was just all open squirrel, stuck with him really well, moved his feet well,
hmm
and they stuck with him for the first half. And then Tatum hits his first three in the third quarter, and I was like, all right, well, here we go.
yeah,
Hits another
right.
three, and this was driving. I think he had like I don't know exactly, but he had at least 10 points in the third quarter after a slow start. So
Yeah, I think the
kind of just ended
most,
up taking over.
yeah, no, I think the most interesting fantasy name, who's a guy who, honestly, has been really solid for a little while now, and probably should have already been picked up. But it's Derek White with
Yeah,
with no
big
with
game
no
too.
with no Marcus Smart. Man, he's been solid. I know Smart, I think should be returning. I'm gonna pull this up.
Yeah, Derek White had a good game. He had like I think 3 and 1s in the first half. He was just driving really well to the basket. Um,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean
definitely him
he's
and
been really
Tatum offensively.
aggressive, and I mean obviously playing really strong minutes without Smart. I mean he's been 30 plus in the past four. Um, Solid assist guy. So I obviously know Jalen Brown helps a lot with the illness, but let me pull this up. I know Smart was ruled out early for this game. I think he's uncertain to play before break. Okay, yeah, yeah, no real timetable. I think White's a really good pickup.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. He's been on a little hot streak. Jalen Duren just
You,
continuing to
yeah,
impress.
yeah. Before we went over to the Pistons, you didn't let me say my classic Al Horford stat line of just like one one for four from three, gets you three
Yeah,
six and three, playing 32 minutes.
yeah. It
Uh,
was like not like he's gonna do much, but like matchup wise, Stu started at the four, so it's like he kind of
right.
matched up pretty poorly against the Pistons with what we had. Duren down low, and Stu can kind of keep with him on the perimeter and down low as
Mhm.
well. So, um, but yeah, on the Pistons side, Duren had a great game. Stu had an awful game, um, which stinks, right? Because we were
Yeah.
waiting to kind of see Stu and Duren back in the starting lineup together, and he's starting to do that again, but he's just did
He
not
just
play
couldn't,
well.
yeah, just couldn't get one to fall. He's been shooting the three well
Yeah,
this season, which is the worst part about a game like this, where he's 0 for 7.
yeah. And they weren't like decent looks too. They weren't like really forced ones really.
Yeah,
Like there was times where he had a look, kind of pass it off, came back to him, got a better look. Just yeah, was not connecting on the three. Duran, I think had like 11 boards in the first half. Um, he was
yeah.
just kind of all over the place. But just as a team, defensively and then subsequently offensively because of playing catch up, Pistons just kind of fell off in the second half.
Yep. Killian and Sadiq continue to kind of have this second team rotation. I know Casey's talked a little bit about it helping Sadiq a little bit, and he's able to get in a little more of a rhythm with the second unit. Um, yeah, it's just you're gonna get games like this, but it has been nice to see more volume for Sadiq, but from a fantasy perspective, but it's just gonna be really consistent. Um, and yeah, I'll just kind of
Yeah.
continue to say he's just not the best isolation scorer. So when he's asked to do that in spots, it's not the prettiest. I think he's a guy who gets a ton of benefit from playing with a guy like Cade. Was
Yeah.
able to really get him good looks. But
Yeah.
yeah. You think the Pistons are holding on? It sounds like they've been pretty stingy. It has been the reports
Yes.
with Bogey and Burks that they're really content
Birds.
with keeping those guys and giving Burks a similar kind of, not a similar kind of deal to what Bogey got, but a similar concept of keeping him
Yeah.
for next year or two.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm starting to kind of get the feeling that the timetable for us to be really good or better and more competitive is a lot shorter than we kind of thought. I think we kind of initially thought with the
Yeah.
drafting as of the last 2 years that, we were like, okay, we can be competitive and like push for playoffs pretty consistently in 3 to 4 to 5 years. But I think they're thinking like, no, we can start to do that next year. Like
Yeah.
honestly.
Cade
Which
obviously, Cade injury obviously hurt
yeah, yeah,
this
yeah. I
season
think
and
that's
developmentally too, alongside these guys. So it kind of feels more like a 2 year thing. But I mean, that's the deal
right.
Bogey got, and yeah, I think
Yeah.
the way that the young guys are playing really excites me. Right? I mean, Jalen Duren's just
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
he just needs to play like 30 minutes.
Yeah,
He is just so solid.
he's 19.
Yeah,
It's
he's
so
so
insane.
solid. So
Um,
but yeah, no, I think the only thing I wanted to say with that, I mean, I know like there's some conversations about like, oh, is Casey on the hot seat, and what's the timeline? The tough thing has been is it's been such a weird rebuild for the Pistons. Like it's felt so long just because of a lot of the moves the Pistons have made that have been set us back years in the rebuild.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think too what you were saying about the Cade thing is like that's kind of what it all comes down to, right? Is like I think the Pistons are assuming if we had Cade this year, we'd be a lot more competitive. Obviously, maybe not like a play-in team or playoff team yet, but like
mhm.
it would show that we're trending much more in the right direction. And now that he's out, everybody's like, wait, this team is still way behind in rebuild. They need to trade Bogdanovich. We like they need to get rid of Burks. They need to
Right.
get rid of these hot players that are playing well right now. And so everybody's like, why aren't they trading them? And then the Pistons are like, well, like we're not this bad. Like we actually want to keep them for the foreseeable future.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah,
What's up, Sammy? Is Al Horford a holdable player for a 12-team 9 cat? Holdable is such the perfect word to describe Al Horford because it's like it's not. You're not asking if he's must roster. It's just like holdable. Like is he even like holdable? Keep it on the
is
roster.
he toxic?
Is he toxic? I think the issue with a guy like Horford is the inconsistency. So I almost am like, give me the flexibility over having to play Horford.
Yeah,
I assume he's your worst player.
yeah. I would say no. I don't. Like, because even with like Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart out, like, yeah, we're not assuming Al Horford to get this huge usage bump, but like, it should definitely help. And like
Yeah.
for every other game for him to have a decent game, but he just hasn't like in
Yeah.
almost a month, right? Like, he just hasn't been that great. And there's been several opportunities as far as minutes and matchups and potential usage voids for him to step up and have a solid game. He just has not. So, if he's not doing well, if he's like, you probably could drop him. You can drop him now. And if you can say that, and then you have Marcus Smart coming back, and then you have Jaylen Brown coming back, it's looking pretty dim. I don't think he's a hold in a 12 team.
Yeah,
Not
which is so
yet.
tough too, because like a guy like that who like has random amazing nights and is gonna play like 30 minutes when there's so many injuries with the Celtics guys. But yeah, it's just the thing is what Al Horford, the upside he can give you, you can probably find on the waiver wire, like match his like high upside games, and his floor is just so much lower than the rest of the waiver wire for probably, or at least like the top end. Hartenstein, my lowest players.
Him, Grayson Allen, and Hartenstein. Yeah, see, the Hartenstein's a whole other debacle,
Yeah,
but
he's another inconsistent guy, but he's so tough. I like Hartenstein, man. Just this the
yeah,
opportunity, and like it's going to be a longer timeline for Mitchell Robinson.
yeah.
Uh,
Hartenstein's playing way better than Horford right now. Like, he's going through that swing
and
now where
Sims.
Thibodeau's all of a sudden like, yeah, when Thibodeau, because even with Mitchell Robinson out prior to this kind of stint, Thibodeau was just not having Hartenstein out there as much. But now it's one of those weeks or stretches where he's playing Hartenstein more and he's performing well. So I mean, as of now, yeah, you're not dropping Hartenstein right now.
And the thing too is like Hartenstein too, like he's like the rebounding numbers have actually been pretty good, a lot better than I thought they would be. But I think just with who the Knicks are having to play, and obviously he's been getting pretty solid minutes over the past four. But he just like he's been giving you some defensive stats too. Like if you like squint your eyes, it looks like a solid Al Horford stretch, right? Of just like, oh, he had really good rebounding numbers. Like, Robert Williams is
Yeah,
probably out. Oh, defensive stats, nice. Oh, he shot some threes. Let's go. Like, yeah, it's Al Horford. So I think like he's just more upside and probably a safer floor.
yeah,
Maybe I don't know if I would say safer floor, but I don't think he's gonna randomly like start playing 20 minutes. Like I think he's got like 25 plus locked,
yep,
especially since he's out playing Sims. All right,
yeah. But
cool.
I would definitely drop Horford over those two guys. I also have Mitchell Robinson in my eye out. Oh, then yeah, you definitely hold that little handcuff for now. There's no harm in that. Um, what would I do with him? I
Man,
mean,
Mitch
yeah, once
Robinson.
he comes back, then you probably drop. Well, when does Mitch Robinson come back? Did you already talk about the timetable?
Yeah, it's like a end of the month thing. It's been really weird. It was supposed to be a lot earlier. I'll pull up the most recent report, but it was yeah,
'Cause if you have Horford, Grayson Allen, and
yeah. I
Hartenstein,
got pushed back.
when Robinson comes back, yeah, do you just drop Hartenstein then? Probably,
Yeah, the reports were
because he wasn't
4 more
like,
weeks at the end of the month, which is like the end of this month. Yeah, which
yeah, I think you
sucks.
might just,
I love
I
I
think you
love
do
Mitchell
just,
Robinson.
I kind of like that timetable better too.
Oh
Like
yeah,
as far as
safer.
like who she should drop and stuff, it's like, okay, you get like a good chunk of Hartenstein, and then Mitch Robinson comes back. You can drop Hartenstein because I mean we've seen them both in the lineup. Like, yeah, he had a nice little stretch to start the season, but when they kind of figured out what they want to do with that lineup, Hartenstein kind of faded. And
Yeah,
I'm worried that Jericho Sims will get more nods again ahead of Hartenstein off the bench, which really hurts him. So you can play Robinson over him, and then by that time we're past the All-Star break. We're starting to get into winning matters for these teams, especially like these playoff teams like Boston, where you
yeah,
want Al Horford on the court more. And I can see Al Horford picking it up a little bit more later, but
yeah. All right, we can keep it moving here with the Cavs Wizards. So I'm gonna set it up from the Wizards side. A couple more injuries on their end. Obviously, lose this one 114-91. They had no Kuz, no Beal tonight. Beal with a foot injury. I think the reports were he was at shoot around, so it sounds like he's hopefully coming back sooner. And then Kuz with the ankle injury, missed another game here. But yeah, I mean, just kind of got rocked. not an amazing game for really anyone. Obviously, when you put up 91 points and your starters are playing 20-ish minutes, it's not going to be great. But Avdia, especially with these injuries that are going around, and even with like Bielanku's coming back, he's solid.
Sorry, I just had to sneeze.
No, you're good.
Um,
It's kind of disappointing on the Wizards side, but I think their notes are a little more obvious. It's just they were a little disappointing.
yeah, I mean, honestly, like an okay game from Avdia still. Like 3 for 10 is pretty bad, but like the usage is there. 4 and 3, 2 steals. Um, good minutes, most minutes out of the entire team. He's just been playing really well out of this last stretch.
Yeah.
So he's been a really good waiver wire addition.
One awful game, but yeah, he's been good.
Which is you'll take one awful game out of the last 10 for a waiver wire ad. So
right.
he's been solid, but yeah, I mean they have obviously had people missing. But even with the Rui trade, I think when those guys come back, he'll still be a guy that you can hold and kind of gauge a little bit longer. But yeah, this game was just kind of ugly from the get go with an unhealthy Wizards and a healthy Cavs. This was never going to be a super tight one.
Yeah, big Jared Allen game. Garland, Mitchell, solid. Mobley's been really, really nuts. Kind of this like mid-season stretch, really, really strong. I mean, I know 16, 5-2 isn't like anything to write home about, but obviously the stretch has been really solid. And 4 defensive stats.
Yeah. Yep. He just kind of does everything great. Not great. He does everything really good. So like it looks like he has like a mad game, but like a fantasy points wise, it's just such a solid high floor that he's going to break in.
Yeah, if you ever like you're playing against the guy who's got Evan Mobley, and you're like, Evan Mobley's kind of, and then you click that little like check his like game logs and his fantasy score, and you're like, damn.
Yeah, that's like, gosh, I was so close. I had 5 picks set up on Underdog. Speaking of which, Underdog. Sports betting, player props. And Klay Thompson, Code Canyon. Klay Thompson was one in there. 4.5 threes. Took him out, was a little scared. He's got 6 before halftime.
Yeah. I was we've got a friend who's does props on Underdog as well, and he's not the biggest NBA guy, but right. he's been hitting, and I was on a call with him, and we were actually live, like we were on Discord, and we were watching the Warriors game. And one of his picks was Klay over like, it was like over, I think it was like 4+ threes or something.
Yeah.
And Klay was like 0 for 4 to start or something. He's like, oh man, what a bad start. And I was like, no, don't you worry. Klay, he will shoot 16 more times. He will get himself out of this slump.
Yeah.
Can Grayson Allen, who is probably another holdable question, 12-team 9-cat. Yeah, he's a guy I'm fine dropping. I know he's had some okay games, but Middleton's only getting a minutes increase, and I mean they're still gonna play Connaughton a ton. They're getting guys back. He's just like what he does already in like the most ideal role is not a must roster. So with these guys getting back, he's a drop or fine dropping.
And what he does well when he does play well, I think is something that's the most common to find off the waiver wire, which is kind of just shoot threes, maybe a little bit of peripherals, maybe a defensive stat or two. So it's like that's the most common thing to me, or for most leagues on the waiver wire, is these kind of shooters, right? These 3-and-D guys that can find a nice little role, pop off for 4 to 5 threes, a couple of peripherals, and a defensive stat, and
he can just disappear. Right. I mean, I know this like Heat game was really, really solid, right? 19, 3-and-3, 2 steals. But then this Clippers game, 24 minutes, 4 points, 1 for 3, 2 boards. That's it. And then right now, Blazers, he's played 13 minutes in, what is this, the first? It's about to close out the first half, 4 minutes left. 0 for 1, 0 points, 2 boards and assist. Thank you guys. I'm ready to drop for trade. And here's another thing I will say. For any of you guys who have like claims, I'm in some leagues that have claim limits, so you can only make like 4 moves a week, and I think it's smart to, especially if you have like some kind of games restriction, I think it's smart to at least save some claims for these like random trade deadline news things, because what you don't want to have happen is come Wednesday, Thursday, when the deadline's actually happening and there's some move and there's a guy available. I'm not saying save all your claims for that, but I think it would be smart to not be claimless for that kind of stuff. Because there's usually a random player who gets a really good opportunity because of, Kevin Durant moving or something,
Definitely.
Um, yeah, we can. One more game here that's complete. Oh, I guess we got two, but we can go quickly over
Yep.
here to the Spurs. Jakob Pertl, another one of those big trade deadline name guys. But yeah, Spurs. I mean, obviously, Vassell, Keldon Johnson didn't shoot a ton. This was another kind of got blown out a little bit game.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a uh kind of a prisoner of the rotation type game. It was kind of close, but once those starters left the end of
Yeah,
the third quarter and were out till the midway through the fourth, that's kind of when the Bulls went on their run. And by the time it was the mid fourth, they were kind of up by a lot.
yeah,
So tough rotation. So you got like 30 max on some of these starters, a lot of depth. Even with like a full game, the Spurs love to play with their depth, especially with where they're at in the season and Pop wanting to play a lot of these young guys. What they do development wise for these young guys, they're going to play deep,
mm-hmm.
especially as injured as they are. So, yeah, it's kind of a gross little setup here that we've got for the Spurs right now with guys like Jones and Vassell. So yeah, they're playing Branham, they're playing Blake Wesley, they're playing all these guys. So I don't I don't feel great about any of these guys for the short time that we're gonna see here in a little bit without these starters.
Yeah,
I mean, definitely like stay on Pirtle, stay on Keldon, like those guys that you probably have in your teams. Like
yeah,
they're gonna have good games there, but they're just gonna also have these games where they get blown out, and they just kind of struggle matchup wise. So until they're at full strength, it's gonna be nothing to really look forward to, I don't think.
yeah. When you
But
got
yeah,
Sohan, I know
not
Vassell's going to be out, but you're getting some of these guys back. No
not an
Trey
awful game
Jones,
from
no Sohan.
Pirtle.
Yeah,
Like 14-9-4, nothing flashy, 2 blocks. Like just kind of a high floor. That's kind of why you have him, right?
it's
It's
per
kind of why he's
game.
a good center, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Keldon does have 21, but no peripherals, so
Yeah,
nothing to really write home about on that end. Um,
unless you're Keldon Johnson owner in one of those ESPN leagues where you get minus points for shot attempts, and you're like, oh, Keldon game where
yeah,
he's
yeah,
8 for 12 from the field.
right. That is
Thank
funny.
you.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny how he's finally had like a good efficient game, but he only shot 12 times, played 29 minutes, and he got
Right.
blown out.
You're like, all
So
right, Keldon, that's yeah. He probably got you more than the
yeah,
games where he drops 30, but shoots
yeah,
30%.
yeah,
And then the Bulls. I don't think there's anything. I mean, I think Andre Drummond. It's just like he's still going to give you these 20-minute games where he's just hyper efficient and looks
yeah.
like
I
looks
mean,
like a must roster player.
yeah, this is the matchup heaven for Drummond. He came in
Yeah.
and playing second rotation against the second rotation for the Spurs. They don't have a center. Like Roby is so
Yeah.
undersized.
And
Zach
they
Collins is
and they the thing is
undersized.
they play like centers too. They're just they don't, or at least like,
Yeah,
yeah, they're fine playing a center with that.
yeah, they're just way too small. They had no one matchup wise to deal with Drummond. It would have had to been Pirtle, and in that case, I mean, look at that. Vooch and Drummond just feasted on the rotations here.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what happened there. But yeah, 9 for 9, impressive nonetheless.
Yeah.
3 for 4 from the line. I
Yeah.
mean,
That's
come
that's
on.
the most impressive part of this whole stat line.
Uh, no, yeah,
Uh
absolute monster game. But yeah, this is just
mhm.
an unfortunate scenario. It's nothing to
Yeah, and
think that's
I don't even think there's much to talk about. The only thing I was going to
no.
mention is a guy like DeMar who's had some disappointing games here, and it's just what you'll get from a guy from like DeMar who gets so much of his value just on scoring and doesn't really have high upside peripherals. Games like these will happen, but
Yep. Yeah.
we can move it on here. We'll see if this last game will load. Kings Rockets, and this just feels like honestly, I was gonna say your fantasy player played against the Rockets, but it was kind of a weird one, right? Keegan Murray's the one who
Yeah.
gets the 30-6 game. Fox 16, 4-8, solid, but
Yeah.
it feels like it should have been a lot better in a 140 team total game where he plays 30 minutes.
Yeah. Keegan Murray had a really good game. He had a couple like transition threes that were pretty big. His shot was
Yeah,
obviously just on. He was 8 for 12, but there was a lot of times that Fox didn't do too much. But there's a lot of times like he uses speed to kind of get downhill, get inside, kind of have the defense collapse on him a little bit. Him and Sabonis, and they had
yeah,
guys like Keegan Murray and Kevin Herter had a hot start too.
yeah. Combined for
That were
18
just feasting
assists.
on him.
Yeah,
Yeah, they were just kind of feasting on him. But yeah, Fox kind of a mad game. Only played 29 minutes. I think he was expecting, or he just had a baby. I want to say. I don't know if that had to do with it, like minutes wise or like his headspace. But I think
Okay.
I thought I saw something
Yeah.
like post game where he just had a baby, and I was wondering if he's like trying to get out of there. Like honestly,
Hmm.
um, you could fact check me on that. But I heard something about that, and I was like, that would make sense because he it was a really weird game from De'Aaron Fox because like
Yeah.
he wasn't in foul trouble, and you'd think like matchup wise, the speed that he brings to match the speed of Jalen
Yeah.
Green is like I thought it was a great spot. But yeah, 29 minutes. I mean, of course they blew him out, so that didn't help.
Yeah.
But yeah, solid, really solid game for Keegan Murray.
Yeah. Then Rocket side here.
Yep.
Just your classic Jalen Green game with especially with no KBJ for
Yep.
this stretch. I mean, he's just gonna shoot a ton. 27 3 and
Yeah.
3. He gets buckets. Isn't gonna give you
Yep.
high peripherals, but you just kind of whatever. You're riding it. The
Yep.
Rockets are kind of interesting.
Definitely.
Weird minutes. I mean, really strong from the starters, right? I know this is a weird kind of blowout game, and it's been a little inconsistent at like the Rockets from a consistency minute spot. You know, some of these guys just minutes fall off a cliff. Like you got Easton down at 18. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, they kind of brought it back in the late third. I think I think the Kings kind of pulled away a little bit at the end there, but classic Jabari Smith game, unfortunately, 5 for 15. Sangoon could have had way more than 10 assists. He had some really nice passes, and his boys just couldn't finish. He had a couple of nice dimes to Jabari Smith in the corner.
hmm
Unfortunately, could not hit. But Sangoon had a better game than what shows
yeah.
at
And
57. So he's
he's
still a
been
dog.
so solid
Yeah,
too. And
he's so good.
I'll still always reiterate the frustration of a guy like him having minutes question marks at the beginning of the season. It's just
Yeah,
so weird. So weird.
yeah, he's been so good.
And
Sangoon's an
Jabari,
awesome player to
man.
have.
Jabari's so tough because all the things he feels like he should have a lot more fantasy consistency just with the volume he's been giving, especially with these injuries. But man, there's
Yeah.
just times where he just looks a little lost. Can't find a shot. Stuff.
Yep.
He's a guy I still believe in like long term. I know we don't talk much dynasty. I do believe in the offensive talent. I just think he's a rookie.
Yeah, I did too. And again, like we've seen it so many times where guys struggle like this. Like Cade struggled like this at this point of last year. Actually, I think he picked it up by February, but post All-Star
Yep.
break is a
Right.
thing. So there's still a lot of season left for him to figure it out.
And
They're
especially
not
for this team too, right? I mean,
exactly.
not playing
They're
for
not
nothing.
trying to yeah, they're not trying to be too cute or careful out there to get wins. Like they're doing what they gotta do to figure out
They're just
chemistry and
yeah.
get the kinks out.
Let's
Like
get Jalen Green his
so yeah.
24 shots, and then
Yeah, yeah,
you guys
yeah.
can go ahead and do whatever you want.
Yeah. I do actually, watching this game today, they do look like they have a little bit better chemistry. And I need to say something good about the Rockets because I usually don't, or
I
just
will
Jalen Green
say,
in general.
and that's saying something because they're. I mean, if anyone's watched Rockets basketball this season, they
Mhm.
just feel like five dudes who play
Rucker Park.
ball. Yeah, like they're
Yeah.
just there's like the most no like really offensive sets. It doesn't feel like they're running anything, and not like the NBA is like, oh, you need to run a bunch of plays, but just not standing still and Jalen
Yeah.
Green try to get a bucket or something. Just using guys like Şengün more, right?
Yeah.
Getting them more involved. Yeah, it's been nice to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll kind of close it out, wrap it up there. Appreciate you guys watching. Any last minute questions before we head out, or if you guys just want to make sure you go down the description, use the link Underdog Fantasy, use code Canyon, 100% deposit match up to $100.
Yes, sir.
Canyon, anything from you before I hit the stop streaming button?
No, I'm excited for Wednesday. If everything gets cleared for Kyrie, I'm excited for Wednesday for that. Kind of hoping a little bit more trades happen.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I think there'll be. I know you mentioned at the beginning of the show. I think we got one more juicy one, if not two. Kind of
yeah,
like, oh okay, yeah, I like that.
I think so too. I think all this too is just making me really sad that Cade's out because just watching the Pistons and watching Durant get better and just have it not really mean much for the season is
I
kind
think
of
I
sad.
saw.
But
I don't think Cade played a game with both Jalen Duren and Jaden Ivey.
I was looking at something like that
I
too.
don't think he did.
Um, but whatever. Soon enough. Not really, but someday.
Yeah.
God,
Nah,
it
it'll be
stinks.
good. And yeah, I know we always we'll wrap up with a little random Pistons talk. Man, Duran's been so, I mean, he's so exciting. And I want to mention, I think I tweeted about it the other day. Jaden Ivey, he's had most rookie point guards in like a situation like his, where it's very much we love the Pistons, bad team, missing key guys. Um, he's asked to do a lot, and he's been playing well.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? Thoughts on Mark Williams? Mark Williams is just the like ping pong. What did I call him? A luxury stash.
Yeah.
Of just like the glimpses and moments and like the per minute stuff is so good, but it's or not so good, but it's promising, right?
Yeah, getting better.
But then it just feels perpetually 15, 17 minutes a night, and that just kind of feels like a Charlotte thing, right? This whole season's kind of felt like very much the guys that are playing strong are going to play, and you're still going to keep giving Mason Plumlee 34 minutes a night.
Yeah, I don't get it. It's very ping pong is a great way to put it. It's been very exciting and then nothing, exciting then nothing, and then you think like, oh, they're really bad. They're just kind of mailing it in, and then you're like, wait, shouldn't that mean they play their rookie more and give him more time?
Yeah.
Apparently not. I don't know if they're like, hey, let's get Mason Plumlee out there. He's playing great, so let's keep letting him play great, raise his stock. So
I know. I thought
if
Plumlee would be
anything,
a move guy.
yeah,
We'll see.
if that sneaky happens, then boom, there you go. Get ready. Well, hopefully, because I would be surprised if he moves and they're just like not.
Would you say he's right? It's like no, let's get
they're just like
Nick
really
Richards
salty that they don't have Duran.
run.
It's like I don't want to use Mark Williams. This could have been Jalen Duran.
Yeah, we don't want to show you guys the difference between these.
Yeah.
Dude, can you imagine him with ball? We actually, I remember we were streaming that night and we talked about Duran with LaMelo, and we're like, he just feels like a hornet, dude. Like just it's 15 points all on lobs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. All right. Well, we'll close out there. Appreciate you guys watching. Use code Canyon. Yep. Link in the description. 100% deposit match to $100 on Underdog.
Like, subscribe.
It's not really player props, but you got the Eagles.
Yeah. I'm getting a little more scared though. A lot of the public on the Eagles, but
I think it makes sense. I mean, I think it's like well accepted that it's literally like Chiefs best coach, Chiefs best quarterback, Chiefs best tight end, and then it's like Eagles.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm gonna be like a coin toss, first kick, touchback, Gatorade color guy this year.
I saw some people talking about stuff like the coin toss where it's like, bro, don't do that on a book. Just like, let's flip a coin 50-50, me and you.
Yeah, that's so true.
We'll see. All right. Appreciate you guys watching. Peace
Sure.
out.